Hey guys, Sundown here to give me my chapter review to One Piece 969, Fool of a Lord. Now, I loved this chapter. I thought it was insane. It was so good from a perspective of we got to see the like Odin. Everyone was hyped. We knew Odin was gonna go ape shit, and then what we see this chapter with him dancing, with him being degraded, with him being this fool of a lord. What the hell happened, right? I mean, like, we need to find out, and that's the where all the theories come in. What the hell happened in the castle, in Orochi's castle with Kaido and stuff like that? What happened to make Odin come out in his loincloth that says chicken wing or some shit like that? What the hell happened? So the first thing we see is Gotti getting wrecked by one of the Navy guys. So, like, they gotta step up, man. They're part of a Supernova's crew. You know, you can't just get wrecked like that. Anyway, first thing that happens is Odin goes in for a twin slash with both his awesome blades, and he attacks, and nothing happens. His blades drag off. They smash, or they slice through the right hand side wall, but Orochi is still fine. There's no cuts, no wounds, no bruises, not even a nick. And all we see is the what's it called, the biwa playing priest, biwa being that kind of shamisen looking guitar, well, that stringed instrument essentially. He's doing the Bartolomeo thing. He's doing this. I was like, oh my god. So not only does the hag have well, as we know it, Bon Clay's fruit, but this old dude has Bartolomeo's fruit. So he has the barrier fruit, and he protects Orochi from the attacks of Odin. I was surprised he's actually strong enough to. I mean, like, Bartolomeo was, he was protecting everyone himself as much as he wanted, but Odin, I thought, would have been able to cut through something like that. Maybe he would have had a more advanced form of haki, but he didn't. He didn't seem to utilize that. Maybe considering, as Orochi, he didn't really anticipate that he'd need to use something like that. Anyway, we're told here that the guy, the biwa playing priest, his name is Kurozumi Semimaru. He's there with his fingers crossed. He's like, there's nothing to worry about, Orochi. Have faith in the barrier art. So he even says to Odin here, he's like, oh, you should be aware, right? Actually, it's the hag that says it. She's like, you should be aware of these supernatural powers, which are actually devil fruits. And Odin is very aware. He's like, oh shit, you guys have powers and we know in Wano they call it sorcery and stuff like that. But the old hag is called Kurozumi Higurashi. So we have Kurozumi Semimaru and we have Kurozumi Higurashi. What's the common trait here? They're both identified as Kurozumi. I don't think they're anybody else, or they're disguised as like CP0, or they're CP0 agents disguised as anybody else anymore. That's what I thought originally. These guys are actually original Kurozumis, the part of the clan that was banished, exiled, and that's why they actually have they have a reason for wanting Orochi to take the throne, to take revenge upon the people of Wano, to take revenge upon the daimyos and even the family of the shogun. So they have a valid reason for wanting to do this, apart from the fact that it's completely evil and they don't actually have a valid reason. But you can see in terms of vengeance, in terms of revenge, why they're doing this. So Orochi, as per usual, shits his pants, and then suddenly he's like, yeah, you can't do shit against me with your anger and violence. He's like, if anger and violence could solve everything, then the daimyos would have already kicked my ass, but nobody can kill me. So everyone outside is cheering. Yes, Lord Odin has returned. The Kozuki clan has returned. The real heir to the throne has returned. And we see all this, so it's kind of just building up all of this hype. Everyone is it's building up the emotional investment that we have in Odin and him being on the throne. Everyone is so hyped. We're hyped with them that Odin's gonna grab the throne, even though we know that he's not. And then the drop we get when Odin comes out and he's dancing, and he dances for 5 years. Just seeing that hits so much harder because of these pages where the people outside are cheering, they're crying because Odin has returned. They have so much investment and attachment to Odin. He was their hero, and then he comes out and he's the villain, which was heartbreaking. But Orochi tells us the truth here. He's like, he talks about well, actually, this is Odin. Actually, he says he heard about his father telling Orochi that he's going to be the next shogun, but that was only until Odin came back, and he was a proxy essentially. So Odin's like, give up the shogun seat to me right now. I had no intention of being the man in charge, but I know I can do a better job of this, whatever you've done to this country. So Orochi here says there's actually a twist here. The old hag Kurozumi Higurashi says, well, she doesn't say, she transforms into Sukiyaki, saying it's good to see you, Odin, and stuff like that. Odin realizes here what her devil fruit is. He's like, oh shit, this is pretty intense. So the old hag's laughing and stuff like that, and Orochi's like, the reason why I'm not going to give up my throne, as if he had any shred of honor in him and was going to do it anyway, but the reason why he's not going to give up the shogunate to Odin is because this old lady Higurashi, she's the one that gave the order. She's the one that fooled all these daimyos and everyone into believing that it was Sukiyaki that said it with the clone fruit. So essentially Orochi has no obligation to cede control, to give control of Wano to Odin. But that also, if he's going by that logic, it should also mean that technically he's not even the shogun. But I suppose being in the position that he's in, that doesn't really matter. All that matters is that he's not honor bound to give the throne back to Odin, even though technically he's not honorable at all. So it wouldn't have mattered either way, right? So we continue with the crowd cheering, and then we're told that poisoned arrows struck here and there as if from nowhere, and two people collapsed, spitting up blood. They both fell blind. So I feel like this has a lot to do with what comes in the next few pages. So first off, people being attacked. This could play into something that Odin would be threatened with, especially the poisoning and the going blind and stuff like that. So I feel like Odin was leveraged by Orochi and maybe Kaido into dancing for the 5 years that he did, because they promised him something and it never came into fruition. So we see the clouds rumble and they're dark and it looks like a storm's coming. You see the dragon there, which is Kaido, and then we see what's her name, Shinobu, in her young form. She's looking through the ceiling plates down at Orochi and down at Odin. And I'm not sure if she's narrating this or if someone else is narrating this, but we're told about how he grew from a wild child into the daimyo of Kuri, went traveling amongst the greatest of pirates, returned many times stronger than he left. And Kozuki Odin, he was invincible, triumphant, and in him, it's just building up that investment in Odin over and over and over again, just in these few panels here. In him, the people saw a savior who could rescue them from a cruel tyrant, and then we see the most disappointing and the most heartbreaking pages that you can possibly have. Within just a few hours, Odin was seen stripped down to his loincloth outside the shogun's palace, dancing like a fool. And you see he's got a fool smile. He looks like, a pervert, and he's there with his chicken wing stick loincloth on, and the people are just looking at him like, you can see them in their faces, all the faith just draining from straight into the ground, and they're just looking at him like, what are you doing? You were supposed to come here and save us, right? And he's doing none of that. So that hurt more than anything, how the people lost faith in him, and how the people just basically, they looked at him like, you've become a waste man, you've become a fool, you've become the lapdog of Orochi, all these things which we know you aren't, you're showing us that you are, and people will believe what they see, and they saw that. So that's what was really heartbreaking for me in these panels. And you were told Orochi and Kaido's underlings were laughing. People made a song about Odin, stuff like that, like how he had fear of snakes and stuff like that. You see Orochi laughing, stuff like that. The Kurozumi guys laughing, and you see how all the people, their hopes were betrayed. This gave way to great anger in the people because of what Odin was doing. And apparently Odin continued to do this in the capital once a week for 5 freaking years. He would go there to beg for in front of the castle for scraps, whether it was rainy, snowy, whatever. Even his retainers, so Kinemon, Kanjuro, Okiku, Inuarashi, Nekomamushi, all these guys, they're asking him, why the hell are you going to do this every week? What are you doing? We know that there's some truth. We know there's something that you've been promised, or you have promised in return? What is it that you've said so that we can at least vouch for you? You know, what is it that you're doing so that we can have a little bit more faith in you? These guys, to be fair, props to them. They had faith in Odin. They had faith in Odin no matter what. Even though he didn't tell them, they had faith in him. So Odin's just like, it's my job. I dance in the buff every week, receive my money. It's all good. But even the people of Kuri, they're just like, don't turn out like him. A real samurai would have already commit seppuku rather than be Orochi's lapdog. Then we see the one newspaper that so this is a year later. It fits in with the timeline. Orochi allowed one newspaper to come in from abroad, and he gave it to Odin. And what it was the news of Goldie Roger's execution. So we see Odin here. He's crying his eyes out. He's running up and down the beach, but he's crying and then he's laughing, and then he's crying and then he's laughing. So what we're told here through the narrator is the world was buzzing over the public execution of the king of the pirates, Gold Roger. But what that also did was the allure of the vast fortune that he'd left behind. The One Piece had sent out a whole bunch. It basically exploded into the new age of pirates, into this dawn of piracy. And Odin, that's what he's laughing about. He's saddened by the fact that, his friend, his brother, has been publicly executed, but he's also laughing at the fact that with all the history they know, with all the things that they found out, having gone to Laugh Tale, having discovered all the stuff that they have discovered, he's happy with the fact that Roger has kickstarted this new age where maybe this Joy Boy that they're waiting for will come. So in the second year of Odin's dancing, we're told that a battle broke out in Ringo between the Gecko Pirates and the Animal Kingdom Pirates. So that's Kaido and his boys. So it's a surprise to me to begin with that I didn't really ever register that the battle took place in Wano. So Maria was in Wano, Kaido was in Wano, and that's where they duked it out. We know that Maria got his ass kicked. His entire crew were murdered, supposedly. We're told here the grave of Ryuma, the god of the blade, was ransacked at this time. We know where that went. Maria was the one that was responsible for that. He jacked his shadow and put it into that zombie that Zoro faced off against. And all throughout, Odin continued to dance. And everyone who was associated with him, or even with Kuri, they were all labeled and painted with the same brush as him. So his family, people like Toki, he even asks her here, do you want a divorce, knowing that how shameful his acts are, but bearing this burden. This is what I'm saying. Odin, even though he went in there hot-headed, even though he was pissed off, he wanted to kill everyone responsible, he stopped all that rage. He quelled all that rage in order to burden some sort of he had some sort of burden, something that told him he had to stop, and that it was worth stopping for 5 freaking years, embarrassing himself, his family, his vassals, who are just like, yeah, we've seen you dancing naked before, it's not anything new to us. You see Tonoyasu and stuff like that, the people who he owed personal debt to, they still believed in him. You even see him go to the what's it called, the samurai, the flower samurai, I forgot what his title was, but Hyogoro, old man Hyogoro, who's basically the lord of the underground yakuza kind of thing. And you see Odin here, he goes up, and one of the guards there is like, oh, you better stay away from Hyogoro, you fool of a lord. Hyogoro's wife slaps this guy up and just says, yeah, Odin can come in. And you see that Odin has a really good connection, he has a really good friendship with not only Hyogoro, but also Hyogoro's wife. And she makes fun of him, she's like, oh, your dancing's gotten so much better. So even though it was a painful thing for him, she was able to kind of take away a bit of that pain by joking around with him, knowing that, the honorable Odin wouldn't be dancing unless it was for something important. So 3 years pass and Odin continues to dance. 4 years pass and nothing has changed in Wano. You see the townspeople, they're just looking at Odin with so much shame, so much anger, like this kid is such a waste. That's all they're thinking, and that's what was most painful for me this chapter. And you see every time he's wearing his loincloth, every year it changes. His loincloth says egg at one point, it says daikon radish at another point. It's just very, very embarrassing. Then in the 5th year, you see Orochi pops up to Kuri with his only wabanshu on the back of like these cool ass looking freaking ponyta horses and stuff like that. And I think they've even got the Kurozumi logo or this Kurozumi emblem painted onto their chests. But Orochi pops up to Kuri, and even though Odin's bowing down to them, he says, I'd like to build a number of new weapons factories here, and I want your help. Odin says something weird here. He says, but Shogun, what of the ships with Kaido? So, and then Orochi just looks at him and says, what do you mean? So obviously there was a promise involving Kaido and ships. It's up for debate. Nobody really knows what the promise could have been. All we know is that the promise had to have been so great that it would have stopped a raging Odin whose wife had been shot through with an arrow. It stopped that Odin, and he thought that thing was more valuable than getting revenge for his wife. Than getting revenge for his wife who he loves so much. He's got 2 kids with, and you can tell every time he's with her, he loves her completely. This one promise stopped him. Something to do with ships, something to do with Kaido. So for me, and then actually we see here the straw that breaks the camel's back. So Orochi talks about, he's like, Wano will be a weapons producer. Oh, by the way, old man Hyogoro, something of the flowers, man. Guy of the flowers, person of the flowers. So old man Hyogoro, he was beyond his means of control, so he gave Hyogoro to Kaido as if he was a slave, and he says he'll be dead before long. And then he goes, oh, actually, and in the interim, while we were taking out Hyogoro, while we were pulling him away, his old woman was clinging to him and wouldn't let go, so we shot her dead, and we killed like 16 of her followers as well, 16 of Hyogoro's men. And then he's laughing about it. You'd figure that a mobster, Yakuza's wife, would have more self-control. And you see Odin here, tears welling in his eyes. He's in complete shock, complete disgust that something like this would happen on his watch. His buddy, essentially, and his wife, who was also his buddy, one's at death's door, one got murdered because he didn't do anything. He was unable to do anything. So Hyogoro the flower, yeah. So a total of 16 people died, plus Hyogoro's wife. So you see here, once again, the narration says his family, his vessels, they'd largely assumed that Odin had been shouldering some sort of burden for years, but this was the last straw, and you could see through his tears all the anger coming back. And he says to his boys, he's like, this time we're gonna go and strike Kaido down. So for me, I want you guys to discuss with me, and I want to discuss with you, what the hell could the promise have been that would have stopped Odin in his tracks? I think it has to be threefold, right? It has to have been something to do with the Joy Boy stuff, so opening Wano country's borders. Everyone's on that theory, and I'm not sure if would that have been, but actually, knowing the history that he knows, Odin would have to place importance on that history. The second thing would have to be something to do with Kaido, maybe getting Kaido out of the country. So maybe ships Kaido out of the country. I don't know. Or maybe it was Odin and Kaido would both sail away on those ships and never return, or some shit like that. And then the third thing would have to be protection of the people. So what would Odin have to do? Odin would have to publicly shame himself and lose the faith of his people, lose the faith of everyone around him. Well, actually, majority of the people. He knew that his vassals and stuff wouldn't lose faith in him. That's Orochi. But he would have to lose the faith of everybody in the country. Be completely shamed, run around like a fool as if he'd eaten Smile. That's what I thought at one point. Even though we know that Smile probably hadn't existed at that point in time. But he had to have completely humiliated himself. Rock bottom. Lost faith from everyone. And what Orochi would grant him in return were these ships for some reason. Something to do with Kaido. And I think protection of the people is a third thing. He wouldn't kill any of Odin's vassals, his family, and he wouldn't unnecessarily kill any of the people of Wano, so long as Odin continued to dance, baby. So with that final order, the samurai beneath Odin are just like, we've been waiting for you to say this for years now. So they all gather around, and we get one of the most epic double spreads. Like it just feels very kind of 47 Ronin-ish. It feels very Enies Lobby-esque. Very, very epic. Like a 47 Ronin Enies Lobby combination kind of thing. And this is in samurai. This is in a samurai guise. It's in a samurai history kind of thing and appearance. it can't get any better than this for anybody who's a fan of that type of stuff. If you've seen Rurouni Kenshin and stuff like that, this is right up my alley, bro. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. So the narrator continues, the once in a lifetime uproar was caused by Kozuki Oden, the man for whom all of Wano wept. So with him 9 samurai stood through his these were made samurai through his patronage. The hour was sunset, the sun was crimson red, and their scabbards shone with the same crimson red of the sun. And afterward, in reference to these red scabbards, these guys, in honor of their strength and their loyalty to Oden, were referred to as the Akazaya 9, or the 9 red scabbards. You see them crossing over. I think that's the bridge to Kuri. You see the red sun in the background. The red sun also being the flag of Japan, land of the rising sun. And then you see Inuarashi. You see Denjiro, who's older now. This is the first time I think we've seen him this age. You see Kanjuro. You see Kiku Nojo. You see Kinemon, Kawamatsu. You see Ashura Doji. You see Raizo. You see, I'm getting all these names right. You see Neko Mamushi, and then you see Oden, all in a line, all 9 of them. 4, 8, 9. Yeah, so there's 10 total. 4, 8, 9. Yeah, 10 total, including Oden. And we're just told, that their enemy is Kaido. They're gonna march on him, even though this march is a thing of the past, and it ends in the public execution of Kozuki Oden. Don't blink now. You're about to see one of the most epic moments known as the Hour of Legends. So instantly, I'm invested. I'm fully invested. I'm thinking this is going to be one of the most epic scenes we're going to get in One Piece. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping we get to see how Kaido is injured. I'm hoping, the scar he has. I'm hoping we get to see these guys actually wreck some of Kaido's crew. But I'm hoping I'm hoping Oden doesn't lose due to weakness. I'm hoping he loses due to foul play. That's what I want to see personally. I mean, it would take away from Kaido's strength. But this is a swordsman who's on both the Pirate King's ship and the person who was second to the Pirate King. I don't think Kaido should be able to beat someone like that. So I'm hoping there is something more to this. There's foul play. Maybe Kaido versus Oden 1v1 or something like that. And then King comes in. Then Queen comes in. Then Jack comes in or something like that. And maybe they all 4 together gang up on him and kick his ass or something like that. But I don't want Oden to lose a 1v1. I want there to be foul play because I don't believe Oden is weaker than Kaido. That's what I think personally. If he is, that would just rank up Kaido even more, and it would be so much more difficult, in my opinion, for someone like Luffy to defeat him. And then I'd have to call out the fact that if Luffy were to beat him 1v1, that he really shouldn't be on the level of someone who served on Roger's ship, especially in that final year where he conquered it all. So one of the last things I want to talk about in this 23-minute review is the fact that Shinobu, everyone has thought that she was the traitor, right? She knew something about Wano, and she was giving information away to the bad guys, the villains, to Orochi, to Kaido and their men. But here we see something in this chapter which throws that theory a little bit off kilter. So we see that Shinobu is privy to whatever Orochi and Kaido might have promised Oden and whatever Oden promised in return. So she sees what deal they make. So she is in a position of power compared to Kanjuro, Kinemon, everyone, because she knows what was promised and what was to come in return. So Shinobu might be the only one who is truly putting the country first in terms of I might be giving away information here and there. I might be steering these guys to block you here. For instance, the whole Onigashima incident where no one was able to access the island because Orochi somehow knew that everyone was going to go through the what was it called, the gecko port or the lizard port. So maybe she's actually one step ahead of everyone in this sense, where she fed that information to them because she was privy of information that would have been detrimental to the 9 red scabbards. So she actually, even though it looks like she's the traitor, she's actually helping them along to pursue what's best for Wano. And I know that she probably thinks, I believe that she probably thinks what is best for Wano is what Odin thought was best for Wano, but the rest of the 9 scabbards probably don't know about that yet, unless Odin has already explained it, which I don't think he has. So I have faith in Shinobu. I don't think she's a complete traitor, but we've yet to see that. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. We got some big shit coming. I'm going to enjoy it, and I know y'all are going to enjoy it as well. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow when I release my My Hero Academia review. See you guys in a bit.